All right, this information is for those of you that are going to be using the test out material. So go back to this resource if you need it. I'll have a summary on that page. So you've got the video there, and then you've also got a little summary that says this is what you're doing. And that is where I will put the code. So you're going to note here that I'm going to go to test out, and then I'm going to pause things and show you the rest. All right, so if you don't have test out already, what you're going to do is go to testout.com. Now, real briefly, so if you're in class, you can skip ahead on this part. What these people do and how they've made their millions is by providing you testing information so that you can do this on your own. Let me move this to the middle here. On your own at a cheaper cost. Again, go out and search for Network Plus Bootcamp, A Plus Bootcamp, and see how much they're going to charge you to go to one of those. And boot camps are basically designed to charge you a bunch of money. They bring you in, they cram the stuff in your head for 1 or 2 weeks, and then they give you a number of opportunities to actually take the test. So you get like 2 or 3 opportunities before you have to pay more to take the exam. And so test out is a way to get it done, right? It's got all the self-contained information, and we use it because I've used it in the past. And to me, it is the best way to make sure that you get certified. It's got everything you need to get whatever certification you're after. And it's done really well. Let's take a look at the stuff. So I'm gonna move my little video here. I'm gonna go to purchase, and then this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna enter a price code, because if you were actually to buy this from them, instead of entering this price code, it would cost you a lot of money. So it'd be less than going to a boot camp, but it would still be quite a bit of money. And one of the reasons I tell you that is because, of course, when you actually see this price, you're going to go, oh, that's not that cheap. And I'm trying to tell you, yeah, it really is. For what you get, it is fantastic. All right, so I'm going to pause this just for a minute. Okay, so I put in the price code, I went on to continue, and this is where you're at. Now, what you need here is the Testout PC Pro. That's what you need. And it's gonna cost you $129. So this is for the CMP151 course. Testout PC Pro, and it's an 18-month license. So in other words, even though we're not gonna be using this material for 18 months, you have 18 months of using this material. So even after you're done, if you're like, oh, I still need to, get going on this and get my certification, you'll still have access to that after the class is over. That it's not going to stop that. So you'll hit add to cart, and then at that point, you just go through a standard checkout process. And on this portion where it says institution, you want to put Eastern Arizona. Hey, and there we are. Don't do this. What is that, right? So the actual name of our institution is Eastern Arizona. And you'll note that when you type that in, it comes up. Whoops, it comes up if you spell it right. In any case, why that's important is it's actually going to show you a class. And so it'll show you the CMP 151 class, and it'll be titled, F20 or F2020 or Fall 2020, so that you can put yourself directly in the class that you need to be in. If that doesn't happen, later on I'll have to go search for you and put you in the class. And basically it doesn't stop you from doing it in the material, but what it does is it stops me from being able to see you, right? I don't know what you've done, so it stops you from getting a grade is what happens. And then you have to fill this out. And I have students all the time that'll fill it out and then forget what it is. I can't help you with that, but write it down someplace, right? Fill it out. You don't have to use your monster mail as your email. You can use whatever. And again, you're probably going to be using Testout. Once you go through this, you're like, wow, this stuff's good. You'll probably use Testout after EAC2. And so, put an email that you're going to use in there. And remember it, put it down someplace securely so that you'll remember it. Now I'm going to pause it again so you don't have to watch me go over and log in. All right, just real briefly, I wanted to show you that, you go to testout.com and there's always login. So once you've purchased the stuff, you're always going to hit login. All right, so the reason I've jumped to this portion and I didn't show what you're going to see as a student is because basically I don't get a chance to see what you see as a student. And so um, this is what you'll get once you finally click on your Testout PC Pro information. This is what you'll end up with. And I don't know why they don't call this Testout A Plus Pro. Maybe they can't use the A Plus name. I don't know. But they are certified with them. So they're actually part of their consortium. They're an approved product for A Plus. Any case, you will be using this a lot. Right? That's your guiding buttons to go through the information. Now, what I'm going to do in Canvas is I'm going to have these assigned. So I'll actually have in there, hey, if you're doing test out, then this is when these are due. Sorry, that's off camera. This is when these things are due. But basically, if you want to get certified, I would say you need to come down and take a look at what is this, right? You can either go to CompTIA A Plus and take a look at it, or you can actually come down to let me just pause. Right here, Testout PC Pro certification, that's their stuff. So you can easily get a certification through Testout. It's like a Testout certification, and it's an easy thing to do. So if you're looking to pick up a certification, you can do this. I'm not going to explain too much of them, but it's really not hard to get that certification. And then you've got B and C here, Core 1 and Core 2, and that's because there's 2 exams for A+. So you have to complete 2 exams for that. Yes, it's twice the money. I think that's why they do it, honestly, because the second exam, it just goes into things a little deeper. If you go through this information, you're prepped for both, I guess is what I should say. And so there's all the information about what to do, right? Here's the exam objectives in the course section, and here's the exam facts right there, sorry. Where do I take the exam? What do I bring to the exam? You can actually take the exam right here in EAC's testing center. It all has to be scheduled the way that this shows, so you don't go down to EAC's testing center and schedule it. You schedule it the way that they're going to tell you here. And so I'm not going to go through this information. It's there. It's ready for you to read, and you can read it beforehand, or when you get ready for the certification, then you can read it. And then they have the domains. So here in B2 and B3, domains mean these are the way we organize the information. So domain 1, mobile devices, domain 2, networking, hardware. This is how CompTIA organized the information. That's how they organized it. And so it's got all the questions for those. And these are a review of 20 questions, and these are all questions. So what it's going to do on these is it's going to just pop up 20 questions, and then you can review it. And then, you go back and it'll pop up maybe some of the same questions, maybe some other ones. I personally wouldn't use these. I would use these. These are all questions. And I know it's a bit frightful because there's 36 questions in domain 1, 130 in 2, 154 in 3, 28 in 4, 63 in 5, right? 90 questions on the final practice exam. So there's a bunch of questions there, right? There's a bunch of stuff, but you're seeing all the questions. And so after you complete this material, and honestly, as you go through the material, you're going to be seeing these questions. You don't want to go take an exam until basically you have memorized those questions. You know them in and out. And it's not a matter of, oh, the answer is this. It's actually knowing the material, right? Because when you go and you take the CompTIA actual test, they may have modified the question a bit. And if you don't know the material, then you're going to go, oh, crap, I don't know what this means. I don't know what they're asking. And so instead of getting into that jam, use these to test yourself. And let me show you what I mean. So let's just jump into mobile devices. We're going to hit Start Exam. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, even though it's only 28 questions. So we'll let it load, and they try to really make it look like what it would be actually on the actual exam. All right, so which of the following is an extra button or knob on a laptop keyboard that moves the mouse cursor? Okay, so let's say I didn't know that that's a pointing stick, and I marked touchpad. Now, marking for review means that at the end of all these 36 questions that you're doing, it'll say, oh, you marked these, and then that's to help you go back and look at them again. And then they do the same thing on the actual exam. So I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is check answer, and then it shows me, no, you didn't get that right. This is what you should have had, and then here's the explanation. So at this point, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to say to yourself, I did not understand what they were talking about. So I'm going to read this information, and then if I need more, I am going to go to this location and watch the video and read the fact sheets so I understand what's happening right here on the screen. If you use the test that way, the first times you go through it will take you a long time. But the next time you go through it, it'll be much, much faster, much faster. You'll basically jump from, let's say you don't know anything about any of this stuff, right? This is the first time you've done this stuff. So you'll jump from, say, a 68 to an 80. And then the next time you take it, you'll get a 90, right? And then the next time you take it, you'll have it down. If you just go, okay, I need to memorize this. Which of the following is an extra button or knob? Okay, that is pointing stick. Okay, let's memorize that and go to the next thing. So you're not learning the concept, you're just memorizing it. You'll go from a 60 to a high 60, low 70, to a 70 to a high 70, to you'll end up taking the test over and over and over again because you're trying to memorize what's in front of you instead of actually knowing what they're talking about. And that's the great thing about Testout. You can go through these bottom tests over and over and over again. I'm not scoring, like, oh, I'll take the first score they did. I'm not doing any of that. This is designed for you to test yourself and go, whoa, I got a 40 on that. I do not know this material. And then go back and read it and then come back to it and do it again. If you follow that protocol, again, how many tests? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I've taken 7, 8 tests, something like that. I've taken a lot of them. So I'm telling you from experience that if you use this to learn the material, not only will it help you in your job because you'll actually know the material, but when you get into the test and they throw something at you that's worded differently, you won't freak. You'll go, oh, they're talking about this. That's this answer. That's important. Because I do know people, they can memorize stuff and they'll just memorize it. And it's like, well, good luck when you take the test, because if they change stuff around too much, your memorization is out, right? Tell it to score. Some of them take a long time, and that's my biggest pet peeve about this is that they don't let you save and come back. You have to sit down and do it. And for 36 questions, hey, no big deal. For 150 questions, that's a big deal, right? You're going to have to say, okay, I've got 2 hours. Let me sit down and do this. And then they break it down for you. So they break it down exactly where you failed in that so that you can actually go and look in those units. It's like, oh, okay, I need to go back to networking cable DSL modems and go take a look at that, right? And you can print it if you want to and see what it's like. So that's what this is way down here. That's what this is. And this practice certification exam, I'll back up in just a second. Notice it's got 1 hour and 30 minutes and it's got 90 questions on it. And they're telling you they want you to have a 95 or better. And you don't have to do that, right? This is going to be your final for CMP151. And that is B4 CompTIA A+. Whoops. Sorry, accidentally clicked on that. Let's jump back down there to the practice exam. Core 1, 220, 1001 practice exam. And I'm going to take whatever score you get. You get a 60, then that's what you get for your grade. If you get a 70, that's what you get. If you get an 80, that's what you get. What they're telling you with the 95% passing score is, if you get a 95 on this, buddy, you should be taking the test the next day. You got a 95 on it. They want you to be so confident that when you go in and that fear strikes you and this is all really new and you've never done it before, you don't freak out. Even if you're sick, right, and you puked up on the way before you actually got to the test, you can settle down and you can get it done. And it works. So that's really what you're shooting for, is a 95 or better. That's not actually the passing score of the actual exam. So, and again, I'm going to take, you get an 80 on it, you got a B, your final exam. You're not going to look at this. I don't want you coming into this one. So while I said, hey, you know, those domains, you just do them as many times as you want. Just come in here and do them and do them and do them. Right here, B3. Then you're practicing for your final. Don't do this one but once, because if you come in and I see that you did this 3 times, I'm taking your first score, right? What this particular test is designed to do is I need to know if I'm now ready to go get certified. So you're not trying to practice on this one. All of the questions that are going to appear here are going to be in these domains. So basically for the final, because I want you to get certified, if you're in the test out material, then you should be pushing yourself for certification. You're going to complete all of this stuff. And there's 14 weeks, but I'm telling you, Network's got a ton of stuff in it. And there is going to be some of these that I'm not going to count as part of your grade, because your workload needs to be equal to what somebody else is doing, right? So somebody else is using the textbook. Your workload should not be higher than them for this grade in this class. Now you're going for certification, so your workload will be higher than them, right? Because you're going for certification. And in order to prep for that certification, you're going to have to put a lot more into it than what I'm asking from this class. So in test out, pay attention to, okay, unit 1's due, unit 2, 3, 4, we go down basically. And then I'm going to start picking, right? Then I'm going to say, okay, well, they don't have time to do all of printing. So I want them to do printing 8.1 and 8.2. And that's what I'm going to take for your score. They don't have all the time in the world for file management. Actually, that's an important one. So we'll be doing all that. But let's say a systems management. Well, I'll have you do certain things within that. And I'm telling you in Canvas, okay, I'm taking your grade from these things. Again, you're going for certification. You need to look at completing all of this, and you need to look at completing it all so that you're ready for the final in December and taking this practice exam. The ultimate would be, honestly, is that you say a week before finals, I am ready to take that exam, McBride. Can I do that? And I say, yes, do that. And then you pass it with like an 80, a 96, or a 98. And then I say, go and get that certification, set it up and do it before you leave this campus, right? And this is studying for the first test. But all this information that they're giving you is for both tests, right? So I'm going to have you take this as the final, but once you take the first CompTIA test and you pass it brilliantly, then for A+, you're going to come in and do the same thing. You're going to review all the questions in these domains. Then you're going to go take this, and that's not going to be part of this class. And then when you get a 98 on that one, right, the following week, you're going to go and get tested before Christmas happens, right? Or maybe right after Christmas, or maybe the beginning of January. But it's going to happen within that time frame, because again, they're prepping you for both. That's what's happening through all this information. Then all you have to do is, for this class, prep for your final that I'm going to count. And then once you're done with that, prep for the second test for this certification. All right, so again, what you're seeing in the material, let's go back to that. I wanted to get the test out of the way. Let's go to storage. I'm going to jump into storage. So I will be doing discussion videos on this. So I'm going to talk about storage, and you're definitely welcome to watch those. Every single one of these, for instance, right here, is their little video presentation about storage. And the honest truth is they do really well. I cover other things more in depth than they do. They hit some things that I don't think are as important as they do. You know, that's always going to happen. And so, but what you're going to do, let me get back to, hey, McBride, where's my grade coming from? You're going to do all of this, all of it, right? The only time you're not going to do all of it is if I say do down through 5.9, and that'll be part of the grade. But again, you're getting certified, so you need all of it, right? So you're going to do all of it. You're going to watch their videos. You're going to watch their demos. These are demos. And you're going to do their little labs, and you're going to do their little practice exams. And I'm going to come into Testout and take a look at your scores and pull all that down into my grade book. And that's what I'm going to be counting. Any of this you can go back into. So it's not like, oh, I watched that the first time and I can't do it again. No, just you can do this as often as you like. And I know that's weird. Like for a class, it's like, why would you do that? Because you're trying to get certified. You're trying to master this, right? So if somebody's using the textbook, I'm basically saying, walk through the chapter, do the open book test. To get that done, that doesn't really mean that they mastered it. They did it well enough to pass that test. Mastering it would be, okay, go back through that chapter and do that 3 more times at least. That's what it would be. So you'll load these up. Again, that's a video. This is a fact sheet. And what they do is they boil it down. This is the information that you ought to know about this particular topic, right? Storage device facts. So they've boiled it down. They've condensed it. This is the most important stuff. And that usually freaks people out. They like to read it like it's a book, right? Well, some of this is going to be important and others is not. No, this is all important. It's just the facts. That's all it is. So you want to do the fact sheets, and that's going to comply with the videos and demos. These little screens are the demos, and so they'll show actually installing something. And then these are the labs. And so I'm going to just boot up what a lab looks like, but they tell you what you're going to do, right? They tell you exactly what you're going to do. Then they open up a simulation, which is absolutely fantastic. Their simulations are really good. And a lot of them are very, very based in the real world. And sometimes that bothers people because they're like, why do I have to do this? It's like, well, guess what? That's exactly the way it would work. The annoying thing is that, you know, you can do certain things from here, which is turn on the computer. And then the navigation is not quite great. Like I want to see the drive bays. Now I can see the drive bays. I want to see where the motherboard is. Now I can see the motherboard. And so then you have to do what they want, right? Here's hard drives. And I didn't even read this, so they request 2 serial ATAs. Anyway, so you can drive bays here, and I'm going to say, let's dump it in here, right there. And there it is. But it doesn't show the back of it, right? It doesn't have that back portion of it. And I'm going to need to connect some cables, and so I'll grab the cable here. There's my SATA cable. That's one of the things they're testing you on, is that that's a SATA and that's a PATA. And so we want the SATA because we're putting in a SATA drive. And so go to the motherboard here, and there's that drive sitting in there now. You may not have noticed, but that wasn't there before. And I'll go ahead and say, we'll dump it here first. And I will take one connector, and I need to see the back of that drive. It's not letting me connect it, see. So I need to see the back of the drive so I can connect that. And then, of course, there's a place on the board that you have to connect it on. So I've got to scoot this thing around in order to find that on the board. There's one of the SATAs. And I don't know if they told me to plug it into a certain one, but I'll just plug it in there first. And then I need to see, oh wait, they are showing me that drive bay right there. Yeah, see, they're showing me the internal, and that's where the SATA cable is going to go, is on the tiny one. And so I'm going to take that, and now it's really tiny, so I don't even know what I'm dropping it on. See what I mean? It's like, it's a little aggravating as to navigation on it, but it is really cool because this is really what you would do physically, right? So now I've got that connected, but I don't have the power connected to that. And so I would look at my power. Now, I do want to fail this. I do want to fail this because I want you to see what it tells you. So right here at the top, you got start over or score lab, and I'm going to score the lab. And so there it tells me that I actually failed in installing the hard drive in the computer, and I can look at the details of that. Install both drives, I didn't do it. Connect the first drive to the motherboard. I did do this, connect the second drive, and then connect the power for both. I didn't do either. So it tells you specifically how you failed. It says this is what you didn't do, and the same here. And so I wanted you to see that not only does it tell you not what you didn't do, but it also gives you the explanation. It also shows you, hey, guess what? This is what you have to do. Now, some people will use this for cheating, right? They'll just fail the whole thing and then print that off and then follow it step by step. And that's, that's up to you. What do you want to learn, right? Do you want to learn how to do that, or do you want to follow some steps and then in the end you're like, gosh, I have no idea what I did. I will say that on some things you will find yourself needing to do that. Let's take a look at, these aren't too bad. Those aren't too bad. All right, this network utilities, you may not be familiar with that at all. And so when you do the lab, right, they're going to ask you these answers. When you do the lab, you're like, I've never done this before. Well, you have a choice, right? You can go to YouTube and you can watch some YouTube videos that'll help you figure that out. Or you could score the lab. And then once it's scored, and that just locked up on me. Once it's scored, then it pulls up the exact same thing that you were looking at before, and you can say, oh, these are the steps. So, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to, to take a look at, what am I actually doing with this? Do I need to learn from that list that's going to be there, or do I need to do it and then look at what I missed? That's up to you. Now, of course, those labs and things are not really part of the CompTIA certification. They're at the most will have things where you have to drag and drop something from here to there. You're not going to have something that's an actual, I did this and I put this here. And so, having said that, just realize that when you do the labs, that's meant for you. That's meant for, I'm learning how to physically do this, and that's a good thing. But for the test, it's not really part of that test. Last little note, I did mention this prior, but since I'm talking about what's good and what's bad, there it goes. See, it's back. Thank goodness. This particular, the capstone exercise, I actually won't assign because there's so much to do in Testout. I would love to assign it. There's so much to do in Testout that there's no time. There's no time for those capstone exercises, but they're really, really good. And they prep you for this Testout PC Pro certification, right? So just so we look here, okay, this is domain. There's 36 questions on that, and it's about hardware, right? So let's show you the exam and what it does. So if you want to get the Testout PC Pro cert, that's what I'm saying. If you want to get that, so you have that on your resume, and then somebody looks at it and goes, well, what is that? What are you doing there? And then that's good because you can explain it. Oh, they have a bunch of labs and you have to actually do what you're supposed to do. And that's what this is, right? You want to hibernate. You want to shut down. You want to set these settings. All right. Then you launch it and it's a lab. That is really cool. That is really, really cool. And I have thought over and over again of just, suck it up, make everybody pay $129 just for the fact that you could get this Testout certification with it. So I would like your feedback on that. If you get time to do it, tell me what you think of it. Tell me if you think it was valuable or not. That would be awesome to know. All right, so that is it for, hey, if you're going to run the class through Testout, this is what you got to do. If you still have questions, let me know. But I will have that summarized right there, as you've seen, that you got this video you clicked on, and then there's a little summary of you're doing this stuff, right? But again, got questions?